Welcome to Cidre. This is our new podcast called Cidre, which stands for Connecting Independent, Determined Reformers for Equality. I'm your co-host, Shavonia Corbin-Johnson.
And I'm your other co-host, Cole Goodman.
So thank you all for joining with us. Cole, what does Cidre mean?
So Cidre, this is going to be a podcast where we're going to have the uncomfortable discussions and conversations, but we're going to have them out of a place of respect. Which is something I think we can agree we're lacking in this country all around. But we're going to have uncomfortable, difficult conversations from a place of respect over a Cidre.
Over a Cidre. Let's meet who's all part of the team. Cole, tell us about yourself.
So, I am a former school board member. I am currently on state committee. I represent Dauphin County in the Democratic Party, and I serve on the executive committee of the Democratic Party as well. But I think the thing that I'm most proud of doing and being right now is a community activist.
Yeah.
And really being on the activism trail, not just speaking at different events, but marching with people and really being a social justice, activist.
Yeah. We can keep going down the path where a black man or woman is killed. The media discusses it for a few months and then things go quiet. Or we can keep our foot on the gas and demand change in this country. Can I get an amen? Can I get an amen?
Yeah. So that's the perspective that I'm excited to bring to Cidre, and I'm sure in more shows we're going to talk about ourselves more. But what about you, Shavonia?
So like I said, my name is Shavonia Corbin-Johnson. I'm also a community activist in Pennsylvania. Unless you want to say hi to the video. We got Don't Wolf here, air passengers. Black Lives Matter, everyone.
Hi, everybody. Proud to be here.
All right. I've been fighting for, I would say, people who don't have a voice for a long time. Growing up on and below the poverty line, the foster family, I, know what it feels like to, not have food some nights and, to know what it's like to have a subpar job. But that being said, I've had the amazing opportunity to go to Georgetown University, where I've done my undergrad. I also did my master's degree at George Washington. I've had the chance to work for Senator Casey in Washington, D.C., also President Obama. Go Obama. Yeah. And upon moving back home to Pennsylvania, I ran for Congress. Where I lost the Democratic nomination by about 500 votes, extremely close. But, I've always kept the people in mind, always kept my community in mind. And so I'm glad to be back home, glad to continue doing activist work and joining here with my partner, Cole.
Yeah. And also what's going to be interesting about Cidre is that you have two young people who were candidates before, and that's something we're really not seeing. We're seeing more of in this country, but I just don't think we're seeing enough. So it's going to be I'm excited to hear your perspective on things being a congressional candidate.
Yeah.
And then myself running countywide.
So. Absolutely.
Let me ask you guys a question.
All right.
Since I'm on the outskirts, can you tell the audience something that inspired you? Because both of you guys are socially and politically active. What inspired you to kind of put your necks out there and really get uncomfortable, as we say? Shavonia, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I would say I mentioned probably a little bit about this during my introduction, but it was really my upbringing. And it inspired me because it gave me the realization that this is not I will say, something unique, more or less. People go through a lot of different difficulties, whether it's the same as you or different. Everyone is struggling somehow. And so just knowing that there is this, I guess, great depth of injustice in the world, that's what inspired me. And I said, if I grew up in these circumstances, there's another young boy, another young girl, another young human out there who's growing up in similar circumstances, ones that I may not be able to relate to, but ones that I also want to make sure that they have the opportunity to really, I guess, flourish and be themselves. And so that's what inspired me. You know, I live my quote my life by that quote from Martin Luther King Jr. Says, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." And so that's what inspired me.
Cole, how about you?
You know, I think I'm going to have to give two phases of my life that inspired me. The first was being able to go to an international school and growing up in that setting. I lived in the Czech Republic, went to the International School of Prague, which allowed me to have friends, and I know Shavonia is like this too, allow us to, you know, me to have friends of all different nationalities, creeds, and beliefs. And many of my friends came from war-torn countries, came from countries where democracy was not even heard of or was repressed. So growing up in that environment, I've always wanted to make sure that everyone has equality and equity across the board. The second thing that inspired me, actually, I would say happened more recently. And that was the run of Bernard Sanders in this 2006.
Bernard
Of course, you would
Sanders.
say Bernard. I'm just like, oh, of course.
In this 2016 and 2020 election, and also I throw in Elizabeth Warren, that seeing what they were advocating for and standing for, and also myself coming off of running for countywide office and knocking 11,000 doors in this county and being able to see absolute poverty. Yeah.
That's a lot of doors.
My feet were, that also really inspired me. And
I think it planted a seed in your heart. The passion, because truth be told, and in full transparency, I worked with Cole on that campaign, which is how I got to meet him. And for someone as young as you are, and the energy I saw that you put out there every day, for a position that some might say, you know, why? It's a recorder of deeds position. It's not a congressman. It's not a senator. It's not even mayor. But the passion that Cole put out gave me hope and really was inspiring, Cole.
Thank you.
You know,
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. I loved it. I really, really loved it. And I got a lot of inspiration from that race from Shavonia's race when she ran, and seeing her so much on the ground throughout the whole congressional district, that really inspired me to, you know, up my game too. So
yeah, you did a great job.
Thank you.
Both of you.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to Cidre. I want to throw a question out to everyone. It's been on my mind, and I'd love for both of you to answer it. What really challenges you? What really keeps you up at night? What are those, whether it be issues or, you know, legislation or anything? Like, what keeps that fire burning inside you? What would you say that would be?
That's a great question. When you asked that question, Cole, I had the picture of the meme I'm sure that everyone saw a while ago. We'll make a lot of pop culture references on the show too. But there was a meme of, it was a nightclub and it had Drake in the middle. Everyone was partying around Drake, and Drake is just kind of staring off into the distance. And it was like, you know, my friends having fun, me thinking about global poverty, something of that nature. That's exactly the vibe I was getting from that question. For me, I would say, what challenges me and kind of upsets me, honestly, is people's unwillingness to get involved, people's unwillingness to fight, you know, people that are accepting the status quo. I believe that, you know, anyone who like accepts the status quo just accepts more or less the baseline. And there's just so many inequalities and so many prejudices that still need to be combated against. And, you know, and another thing that irks me is just because because you're not a part of a certain community, you feel like, you shouldn't be alongside fighting with that community. For example, like I'm not Latinx. I don't identify as Latinx or a part of the Latinx community. However, DACA issues are a big issue there. This deportation that's happening, I will say incarceration of children and families in cages. I have been out on the streets along with my friends who are part of the Latinx community. I've been out in the streets, with just people I don't even know who are part of that community who are concerned. And, I feel like people say, because they're not a part of a certain community, they're not sure if this inequality actually exists. I don't need to be LGBTQIA plus to know that they're discriminated against, that there's prejudice against them, and I will continue to fight for that community. And that, I think that's kind of what irks me. That's what keeps me up. It's just because someone doesn't identify with the community, they don't believe their stories. They don't believe, the issues and the challenges they're going through. I believe. And so I'm out there on the streets, obviously I'm Black, I'm African American. And so I've been really passionate about the Black Lives Matter movement, but I've been passionate about other movements as well. I've been there, supporting my Native friends who are fighting for pipelines to keep their sacred grounds. The fact that they have subpar education, healthcare on reservations, like the list just goes on and on. And I don't feel like you need to be a part of a certain community to know that other communities are judged, and there's biases against them. And so people's unwillingness to fight for other people, that's what irks me. How about you, Cole?
What irks me and keeps me up at night really is the imbalance that we're seeing economically throughout this country, and imbalance of justice we're seeing throughout this country as well. And there are many things that we have to do to tip those scales to even get close to equity or equality. What keeps me up at night is Democrats specifically who say, once we get rid of Donald Trump, all our problems are going to go away. That's a smokescreen. That is a incredible smokescreen. And what keeps me up at night is me hoping that leadership in this country realizes that we need to structurally change this country to see drastic positive effects in our communities and people's lives. So that inability to see that, that's what irks me. And that's what keeps me up at night.
So what I'm gathering from everyone who just spoke, and probably everyone who's watching, there's a lot of work to be done. Everyone needs to get on the ground. We need to get moving.
Yep. And now, we not even when just when it comes to elections. We need to get moving when it comes to social justice. We need to keep marching in the streets. We need to keep marching at the Capitol, but also holding our elected officials accountable. And I'll just say that's something I've always admired about you, Shavonia, that you've always been not just out there, but at ground level.
Thanks.
And that's I'm really honored to do this show with you. I'm honored that this is our.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, I guess kind of how I mentioned earlier, like I've had the privilege, and it was honestly an amazing privilege, especially coming from a foster house and going to the White House and working for Senator Casey, working for the Lieutenant Governor, becoming a chief of staff, for a state senator here in Pennsylvania. I've made it my mission to never let my title get in the way of my work. And my work is with the community. My work is on the ground.
Right.
And that's, thank you for recognizing that.
No, absolutely. I'm sure you don't get told it probably at all, but I know you're not that person that's looking to be told it, but I needed to tell you
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And this is why we're here, connecting independent, determined reformers for equality.
For equality.
You like I did that
Cidre,
right there.
That calls for a drink.
That calls for a drink.
So you better pick up your drink.
I'm drinking.
So we're going to start to wrap up our talkcast, but I have one last question here from my co-host. Should Guantanamo Bay still be open, or should we close it?
What?
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That was like out of left field. I wasn't expecting that.
I don't know. I was feeling it. No, but my real question for you all is: what would you like to see this podcast do? What would you like to achieve here on Cidre?
Yeah, so I want this to become a roundtable where people of all backgrounds, all political parties, all creeds, all ages can come and listen and put your 2 cents in, but also hear us put our 2 cents in as well. But also, I really I believe that Cidre is going to be a real, in the future, pillar of civic engagement in the community. And I'm really excited for that too. So people can see their candidates come on here and talk about why they're running, and you can meet them by being a part of the Cidre Roundtable. So yeah, that's what I want to, that's what I want to see.
For me, I hope this podcast does 2 things. I would say educate and inspire. I hope the stories that we tell, I hope the issues we talk about, I hope the stories that our guests tell, whether they're on either side of the aisle, whether they're apolitical, I hope you learn something, and I hope you're inspired to stay active and stay involved. That's what I hope to bring with Cidre.
And we are going to have this is going to be a journey. Yeah. It's going to be a journey for all of us and for all of you out there with us. And we want you to follow along with us on this journey. We're starting out right now, but you're starting out with us. Yep. So let's wrap up. I think we can wrap up for tonight. This was a really good conversation. Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
We'll Cidre you later.
We will Cidre you later. And we have some awesome guests that are going to be on upcoming shows. We're going to have really awesome topics. We're going to have really awesome Cidre. So if you're tuning in to a Cidre episode, make sure you go to the store and buy some Cidre so you can sip along with us. And as Shavonia said, we'll Cidre you later.